Hello, Pirate Nation. My name is Virginia Hardy, and I am the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs here at this wonderful institution called East Carolina University. And I've been here for 27 years, 27 wonderful years. We are excited to have you back on campus this spring semester. And on behalf of Interim Chancellor Ron Mitchelson and the incoming Chancellor Philip Rogers, we bring you greetings and bring you a welcome. Now, let's talk a little bit about what this semester might look like. So students, I need you to know the importance of you complying with all our safety measures, because safety truly is job one for us related to you. We need you to be a part of this process. So what does that mean? That means compliance. Compliance with the 3 W's. I know you know them very well by now. Wear your mask, and wear your mask. Right? We want you to wait and have social distancing of at least 6 feet. And then, of course, we want you to wash your hands or sanitize your hands. You will have sanitizer throughout the campus. You will have signage throughout the campus, as we did in the fall, reminding you of the 3 W's and of the things we want and need you to do. Now, folks, this is extremely important. So students, I've got a conversation I want to have with you just right quick. This is your responsibility. It's your responsibility, it's the university's, our responsibility to make sure that you are safe on this campus and that you can get a quality education while you're here. Now, to do that, we need you. We need you to be responsible for yourself, but we also need you to be responsible for each other. And if Pirate Nation is going to survive this, then we have to do this together as a university. So I am imploring to you, my students, to do this. As the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, for me, truly, you are my focus. And your safety is paramount to me and to the rest of the institution. So let's do this, and let's do it right. And to our parents, we need you to stay engaged, continue to ask questions, of course. You can stay engaged through our Parent and Family Programs office. You can stay engaged by, of course, calling and emailing us as you need to. But we also need you to stay engaged by talking to your students and encouraging your students to do the right things. And that is the compliance of the 3 W's. And also, to the students and to our parents, large gatherings, please make good decisions. Unfortunately, we can't stop them all from happening, but you don't have to attend them. You don't have to go. Make good decisions. It is important that you do that in order for us to be able to sustain for this entire semester. Now, you're going to hear from a group of campus leaders for the next bit who are going to share some very important information to you. I need my students and our parents to please listen carefully and take heed to what is being shared with you. This is important information about what we're going to do on this campus for the Spring 21 and why we've decided to do some things based upon, of course, lessons learned, but also based upon what the CDC, our state government, and others are telling us are best practices. We've learned a lot as you were here later. Now, campus safety, campus compliance. We need you to be a part of that equation. If you're not complying, we're coming to get you. Understand that, all right? We need you to be compliant with all of the 3 W's in order for us to sustain for this spring 2021 semester. Thank you all very much. We are excited about having you back on our campus and to see in your faces. I'm really excited because that's when the campus comes alive. It's when the students are here. So come and stay and comply. Now, next you will hear Chris Stansberry, who will share with you some of the various programs that we will be doing for this spring semester. Thank you all again and welcome back. Go Pirates.
Thank you, Dr. Hardy. My name is Chris Stansberry. I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs. This is my 14th year here at East Carolina, and I'm a proud 2-time alum of Pirate Nation. As Dr. Hardy mentioned, we have some very important information that we're going to share with you during this program about the spring 2021 semester. So we want you to pay close attention to the program And then feel free, watch it again if you need to, or if you missed something. It's a lot of information that we're going to share with you in a short period of time. We have staff from all over campus that are going to be here as a part of this program that are going to be sharing information with you. We've also have staff around campus that are monitoring the comments and chat section, depending on where you're watching this program. However, I would encourage you, make sure you're listening, because some of the questions you may have as the program goes along may get answered. If not, feel free, pop those questions into the comment and chat section, and we'll do the best we can to get back to you as quick as possible. So on tap for this program, we've got a variety of topics that we're going to talk about today. Of course, among the highlights is going to include student health services, and we're going to talk about what our testing program will look like for spring 2021. We'll talk about campus living, dining, transit. We're even going to talk about some of the things related to the academics. Of course, that is a big part of colleges, talking about the academics and a lot of the questions you have related to a 15-week term or an 8-week block. And then we're also going to talk about mental health, because the mental health of our students is very, very important to us. One of the key questions that we have heard overall has been, what makes you think that you're going to be able to make this work in the spring as opposed to some of the struggles that we're experiencing in the fall, not just at ECU, but on every college campus. One of the biggest things as we go through this pandemic is we have the benefit of lessons learned. There's been the last 6 months of things that have been shared at the state level, local level, national level. We have very great connection between our UNC system, the CDC, our Student Health Services, East Carolina Administration, Department of Health and Human Services are all coordinated and connected on this. So we are sharing our lessons learned as we go and making plans off of that. One of the reasons we transitioned from face-to-face to online in the fall was simply a lack of quarantine and isolation space. None of our space in the fall was available online, so we were having to move students off campus. In the spring of 2021, we're going to have 2 complete residence halls that are dedicated for students that need quarantine and isolation space. It's going to give us 350 plus beds. We're hoping we get nowhere near that, and we don't need that many, but the ability to have that many more spaces is definitely going to help us as we go forward. We have also de-densified the campus in just about every manner, and that means less people in spaces. So in the classroom settings, if a class was set for 100, we have de-densified that space so that social distancing can be maintained, so that we're able to have face-to-face classes and the students are not interacting in a close manner, and we can do it in a safe way. We've done that same thing with our dining halls and retail spaces for dining, in the library, the Academic Student Success Center, our student centers, the rec centers. Pretty much every facility on campus has been set up in a manner in which we will be able to maintain social distancing, practice our 3 Ws just like we're telling everybody else to do, and be able to stay on campus as much as we possibly can. Our residence halls, of course, have been one of those areas where we have a big focus. All of our residence hall students that are living on campus, we had about 800 in the fall. We'll have more than double that coming up in the spring. All of them will be in single occupancy. That means no roommates. So everybody will have their own space in the residence halls, and they're also centralized into the College Hill community, and we're also using the 3 towers on the West End community. And so that allows us to still maintain a level of a college feel and that college experience where we'll get to see each other, our students will get to see each other, but we also get to do it in a safe manner in which we are socially distancing. Wearing a mask is going to be paramount. It's going to be required in pretty much every space, anywhere you go. If you're in class, you're going to be wearing a mask. If you're walking across campus, we want you to wear your mask. Pretty much, unless you're a residence hall student in your own room, or if you're eating or drinking something, we want you to wear a mask. It's the best way for us to make sure that we stay safe and that we're also able to continue going forward in this face-to-face format. We all want to be face-to-face with our students. We're going to need help with compliance. And this is faculty, staff, students, parents and family, anybody that's coming to our campus, we're going to be asking that everybody is helping us with that compliance. We do believe that we're in a much better place as we start this semester. We are very hopeful that we can deliver the best possible options for an experience, a college experience, until we can get back to what we've come accustomed to in years past. There have been some other questions outside of that one right there. That was definitely the biggest one that we've seen as far as how are we going to make this work for the spring. There are a few other ones that have come in. I'm going to touch on those because those aren't specific to some of our experts that are going to be talking here in a little bit. A lot of questions have come in about spring commencement. We know our seniors that are graduating May 2021, they want to know, are we going to be face-to-face? Are we going to be in the stadium? What are we going to be able to do? We know it's tough to hear, but we are going to have to wait a little bit to make that decision. We don't want to make a decision, have to change it, keep going back and forth. Expect to hear from the university probably by the end of February with an announcement of what we will do for May 2021. If you have questions from fall 20 about your diploma, about anything related to what your graduation was, go to the registrar's website. registrar at ecu.edu, and you'll be able to find a lot of that information, when it'll be coming, how it'll be mailed, and stuff like that. If you have a question about your cap and gown for an upcoming ceremony, go to Dowdy Student Store's website. They're going to give you all information. Under graduation, you'll see a whole list of information about cap and gown and so forth like that. We've had questions, will you have a spring break or not? We will not be having a spring break for spring 2021. Part of that is because, and we've seen this has become a common practice on many college campuses and universities across the country, especially the size of ECUs, is if you have an opportunity for people to go away for a week, go to different locations, and come back, that increases the level of exposure and risk that coming back to campus. So that's why ECU and many other schools are going away from a spring 2021 spring break. There have been some questions about parking permits and passes for faculty, staff, and students. The week of January 19th was the first week of classes. There will be emails sent out from ECU Parking that will go to your ECU email account that will talk about whatever your current pass was or what other options are available. So make sure you check your ECU email for that, or you can go to parking.ecu.edu and they're going to have some more information there on the website. For students that were here in the fall, very familiar with the process of using the rec center. It is open and available 7 days a week. For those that weren't here or family members that may have questions, so the Aiken Student Recreation Center and the Health Sciences Campus Student Center, which has a rec center inside of it, they're open 7 days a week. You are going to have to reserve a spot and a location because of limited capacity, and we don't want people just coming and going. We're going to have you set a reservation time for you to be able to come in. You can go to the CRW website, crw.ecu.edu, or it's an app called ECU Rec, R-E-C, ECU Rec, and it's for Android and Apple devices. You will be able to go in there, find out hours of operation for both recreation centers as well as North Rec Complex and the Blunt Fields. You'll find out how you do your reservations there and what services are available in each of those spaces. For our student organizations and clubs, that's another one. We do want our groups to continue to meet. And it's a part of the college experience, right? We have more than 500 groups and clubs that are active at ECU. They use the Engage platform, and you'll be able to find that on pretty much any website for ECU, especially the homepage at the bottom. You'll see Engage. On the Student Activities and Organizations page, you'll be able to find it. It gives you all the information to search and explore, and you'll be able to find meeting times, whether they're meeting face-to-face or virtually, and everything you need to know about the clubs. For the rest of this program, I'm going to step away from the podium. You'll kind of hear my voice as I ask some questions to our guests that are coming up about the specific topics, but I'm going to step away here. Our leaders will come up. They'll kind of give an overview and an introduction, and we'll kind of share that information as best we can. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with Student Health Services.
I'm Lanika Wright. I'm with ECU Student Health. I am the director at Student Health, but I'm also a nurse practitioner. And I've been with the university for 16 years and have been the director of Student Health for the past 4 years. I'm super excited to be able to share with you what we're doing this semester to help keep our campus safe with COVID testing on ECU's campus. One of the big questions we've had is about a return to campus and what the testing requirements are for that. So I'll share that with you right now. The biggest requirement is for students that are living on campus. They are required to be tested for COVID prior to coming, and they are required to have a specific test, which is called a PCR. For any student that is not being tested that was not tested at Student Health during drop-off, if you're going to your home provider, please just ask them to make sure you're receiving a PCR test, because that does give us the most accurate information about your time of infection at the time of testing. If you did not come through drop-off and get tested at Student Health, and you get to campus and you were not tested at home, you can come to Student Health and we'll be able to test you at that time. Once we receive your results, your negative results, we will send you a message that says we've received your results, you have met the criteria to be able to move in. Or if you happen to have the wrong test, we'll tell you that in that notification from us. If you go to your doctor and get tested, is to get a copy of the lab results and email them to gotquestions@ecu.edu.
So required for our on-campus students. Our off-campus students, while we can't require it because it's just too hard to manage everybody being all over the place, it is really strongly encouraged. Why?
Yeah. So what we're saying is that students who live off campus and are going to be on campus for any reason should be tested prior to returning to campus. The rationale for that is we want to be able to remain on campus the remainder of the semester. We want to have a good control of this virus. We want to have an understanding of what the prevalence is within our ECU community, and it's our way of kind of knowing in advance what our next step should be.
One of the things we talked about a little earlier in this program was the fact we feel better prepared in the spring than we were in the fall. We just know a lot more. Our quarantine and isolation space is another one where we have a really different advantage coming into this. Talk about it from a student health side, the benefit of having that Q&I space on campus.
The beauty of having the Q&I space, one of the things is if there's an issue, we can get to those students a lot easier. They feel comfortable coming to us a little easier. So it's easier to transfer students that need to be tested or need to be seen for reevaluation. I think the moving process for them will be easier as well, and it will be more streamlined than it was possibly in the fall.
For parents or families who may be watching this, when we put somebody into quarantine and isolation, talk about the communication that they get regularly from your office and other offices, because that's important too.
Yes. So for students, we do communicate specifically with our students due to privacy laws, but we do communicate with them. We notify them initially of their positive result or that they need to be in quarantine, and then they receive a daily communication from student health that asks them about their symptoms, what concerns they're having, if they feel they want someone from student health to reach out to them, and then those answers are reviewed by our staff, and we will reach out to those students as needed. And then at the time of the end of their quarantine or the end of our isolation, student health does reach out back to them again to talk about next steps.
Student health in your office is very well connected with the health department, CDC, many other organizations. Talk about maybe some of the advantages of everybody being on the same page as we go into the spring.
Yeah, the beauty of our relationship with the health department is that we really we're very much in sync, and I think that is beneficial to not only our ECU community, but the Greenville community, and helping keep our community safe. We're in constant communication about what's going on in the community, so we know how that's going to affect ECU, in addition to having constant communication with Dr. Silvernail with the health department, so that he knows what's going on in ECU and how that can affect the greater Greenville community at large. That also helps us stay abreast of what CDC guidelines are, if there is any change in guidelines from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. And so we are in constant communication with our local health department. We also are in constant communication with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. And so we're constantly giving them updates about what we're doing on our campus, and they're giving us feedback on what we need to be doing.
Let's go back to testing and talk about beyond the move-in part and people come back to campus. There will be continual testing for our students on campus. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes, we are so excited to be able to have saliva testing available for surveillance for our faculty, staff, and students coming this semester. It is a partnership we have with Brody School of Medicine, and that testing will be available free of charge. We will continue with what we started in the fall, having testing Thursdays. And so we will have, every Thursday, we will have testing available for anyone who wants to be tested, preferably for those who are asymptomatic. So it's not used for symptomatic screening, but just for asymptomatic screening. They can come into the main student center on Thursdays to be tested. And then also we will be weekly at the Health Science Student Center on Thursdays as well, and be available for them to come in and get testing.
So we had about 800 students that were living on campus in the fall. We'll have more than double that here in the spring. From a student health expert perspective, the students did a really good job of complying in the fall. The importance of making sure the students understand their responsibility as they come back in the spring.
And importance is the right word. Important responsibility. It is the responsibility of every citizen of the ECU community to help keep us safe. We're never going to get this under control if everyone doesn't take part. And so it is really important that they comply with the surveillance testing, and it is mandatory for our on-campus residents. But it's important that they comply just so that we can, again, continue to function as a university and have a great spring.
And our on-campus students, it's set up. We had, I think it was every 25% a week. that will continue. Talk a little bit about what that means for the spring.
Yeah. So for this spring, what we'll do is the first week in February, so 2 weeks after we get into classes, we will actually have mass screenings for the entire campus. And so that will be 1 week that will be a little different in that testing will just be available every day. For students that are living on campus, we will have 100% of them tested at that 2-week mark. There is a rationale for that, just because with the 14-day window and incubation period of the COVID virus, with us coming back 2 weeks before, we want to just get our pulse on what's happening on campus. Then after that, those residing in campus living will be required on a schedule to be tested once a month. That schedule will be given to them once they move in.
And then for me, last question, what are some advice, or before parents send their students back, or while their parents are separated from their students when they're back here? What should moms and dads and family members, how should they help kind of keep connected and educating their student?
Right. So my first response to that would be just keeping that constant communication and asking, what are you doing? Where have you been? And I've said this several times. We aren't expecting your student to come to this campus and to suddenly become a hermit and not have interaction with other people. I think people need to make conscious decisions about who they let in their bubble. Like, who are the people that I'm willing to hang out with that are taking this as serious as I am, so that we don't become infected. And I think that's the big thing, is being cautious about who's in your bubble, not being by yourself, because that's not going to be beneficial or make a great college experience at all, but also getting a strong group of friends that say, you know what, we're going to be together, we're going to take this seriously, and we're going to make sure that we get to continue this semester.
If anybody has questions from the student health side of it, email, phone call, what's the best ways?
The best way is to reach out to us is through gotquestions at ecu.edu. A phone call is fine as well. Our staff is available and will answer any questions. 252-328-6841.
Good morning. I'm Aaron Lucier. I'm the Director of Housing Operations at East Carolina University. I've been at East Carolina University for 25 years, so this would be my official 26th opening, and 26.5, I will call it for this. So we're going to be talking about how we just completed the drop-off period for housing. So we appreciate those folks who did that drop-off ahead of time and following the emails that we have sent. So if you have any questions, first check the emails that we've sent you, and then we also have a lot of information on our website, but I'm going to cover some of the big points about this. So starting this on the 14th, January 14th, in the afternoon at 1 o'clock, we will start our main move-in. So for the folks that have done drop-off, that means you're just returning to campus at your convenience. You have your key, you have your fob, and you just head up to your room with the luggage and anything else that you are coming with that last overnight bag, whatever else that you have. We're asking that you not bring your whole family to this second part of it, since you did your drop-off. And that really brings down the number of people that are involved in the move-in process on these last weekend here on Martin Luther King weekend. For those who have not moved in yet, you're going to be doing your move-in, and you're allowed to bring 2 family members. Those 2 family members, we ask for them to be hopefully from the same household, so keeping your bubble, which is really important. Do check for your COVID symptoms. Make sure that you're not bringing anybody who's not feeling well. Everybody's feeling great. They're bringing their masks, because masks are required on campus throughout. And you're limiting it to 2. So, the little brother who wants to see college, there'll be other opportunities for them to come visit and see East Carolina University. So we're excited to have them, but just keep it as a small group. During that time, parking will be pretty much prioritized for you to come in and move in. There will be carts available, limited number. So if you want to bring your own family cart and then you not have to worry about if that's been sanitized, it's your cart, feel free to do that. We're going to keep elevators limited to 1 family per elevator during this process, so that's why it's really important. We're not doing a sign up for this second move-in process because it is a long weekend. We have all the way up until the following Tuesday for the first day of classes because it's a long weekend. So come at your convenience. There's no reason to be here waiting at the door on Thursday at 1 o'clock because that's probably going to be the busiest time we have. But come on down during the weekend or on Friday, Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. get your fob and keys and get moved in. And it should be a pretty familiar process to the one that you probably did in August. The neighborhood service office hours are going to be 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and then on Saturday and Sunday noon to 8 p.m. So those are the times that you're going to be choosing to arrive on campus so you can get your fob and your key activated, or your fob activated and pick up your key and get settled, start settling in.
So Aaron, let's talk about those that maybe stayed on campus in the fall. What do they need to do when they come back?
They just really need to return. Once again, Thursday, 1 o'clock is when we are reopening the hall. So they just come back anytime during the weekend. Their fob should be already activated again. They should be all set up. Some students did do a room change. If they did the room change, they should have their new keys. If they don't, if they have any questions about it, all students are going to be using the neighborhood service office in Ballard Hall, which used to be Gateway. And that is, we're not opening the neighborhood service office on West End because we're not going to be using that dining hall. And also the majority of the students are going to be on College Hill. And so with the staffing changes, we're going to be only using the one neighborhood service office over in Ballard East, which used to be Gateway East.
So let's walk through a little bit more specifically the process. So if I'm somebody who's coming in and I've got to go to the NSO and I'm newly moving in, my first stop is going to be
Ballard East, and to stop by and get your key and get your fob activated, or pick up a fob if you haven't been there. So you check in, and then you head down to your building, and that might be on College Hill, or it might be on one of the three high rises we're opening on West End, and you start your move-in process. There'll be staff around for directions and support, but by and large, it's you get your key and you start moving in, and it's going to vary. While it's going to be a little less crowded, it's going to feel very familiar from that move-in in August that most of the students went through. If you are new to campus entirely, namely you decided to start here in January, there will be staff around for directions and questions. Our Jones Hall office is available as well if you have any questions about the process. Once again, a lot of information's been emailed, and you should keep checking that email, and our website is up to date with the move-in information as well.
So let's talk a little bit also in your area about dining and transits, things that people definitely want to know about for those that are going to be around campus for the spring semester. Yeah. Talk a little bit about some of the things that are available first on the dining front.
On the dining front, we are going to have the dining hall on College Hill, which is Todd Dining Hall, open as a dining hall. There will also be some of the retail available here in the new Student Center, closer to Clement, White, and Green, which are going to be the buildings open. Also, the Reed Street Market, which is a small convenience store and Subway, is going to, right next to Clement, White, and Green, will be available for food service. Students that are living on West End who were interested could have chose a more flexible meal plan. They should have received that information. If you have questions about that, you can reach out to housing or dining about those. There will be also an extra special transit run, basically the campus shuttle, that will allow you to run over to College Hill from West End if the weather's a little bumpy, which can happen in eastern North Carolina, if you can believe it. And that will be running during those times pretty much on the quarter hour. So they can run up to College Hill real quick and pick up their meal, stop by the neighborhood service office if they have a package or any questions. Also, that staff's going to be available at the NSO via phone, which we find that a lot of students can get their questions answered via the phone. But if you receive an email about a package, just plan to go up to College Hill during the next time that you have that, because your package is going to be at Ballard East at the neighborhood service office, even if you live on West End, and therefore pick out your next meal time, stop by the NSO, get what you need, and head back to your home in your hall.
So folks that live on the West End, they can take transit up to College Hill, they can walk through, they can stop at the Student Center, there'll be options that are there. You talked about transit running the campus shuttle. What about transit for its operations in the spring?
Transit is going to look very much like it does in a normal year. The schedules are there for commuting students. They're there for the on-campus students. We've maintained, the transit team has done a wonderful job of maintaining as many of the schedules that they have been able to do in the past. I would recommend that if you're not sure if XYZ bus is running at the time that you do, you check the transit website for updates. because that's always going to be the most up-to-date things. Particularly, like I said, we're going to be starting on a holiday weekend. So certainly on Monday, we are not going to be running the full transit schedule that we would do on a normal Monday. Tuesday is going to be when the normal transit schedule is going to start ramping up.
So as we come into the move-in week and get to the start of the semester, I know one of the things that we've always talked about in any semester is bringing your patients with you, right? Is coming in and understanding that maybe not everything's going to go as completely smooth as possible. However, we did have the benefit of doing this process in the summertime, so we kind of get the lessons learned and things like that. What other advice maybe for parents and family that you might want to offer, or for students that are coming into this move-in process to the start of the semester?
It's going to feel a little different. The number of students that are back on campus is not the same that we had in August, and it's not the same that we have in a normal year, but it is going to feel, of course, the energy is going to start building. So if you get here on Thursday and it feels like, where is everybody? That means they're going to be moving in over the weekend and stuff like that. So that energy level will start building. We are also in single rooms. And so your building is designed for twice as many students is going to be there. So it's going to feel a little empty at times, but at the same time, you got to know that we picked specific buildings so we could fill them up. So that when the weekend starts moving along and we start heading to Tuesday, it's going to start filling up and it's going to start feeling like a building that has a community. And we encourage folks, we're sending an email out that as long as many others that you should look at, that includes all the Facebook links for your building. So we have a specific Facebook community that we're building for spring. So you can check in with your fellow residents and see about programs, activity, or just connecting. Be it a virtual connection or maybe a safe connection in the lobby where you're keeping your distance and you're keeping your mask, but you're connecting. Connecting over a meal in the dining hall, walking across campus to a class. The connections will be there. It might take a little bit more time or a little bit more creativity, but they will be there. In terms of parents and family, ask your students about the emails they're receiving. We don't send everything to parents because the students are our primary customer, and we need to remember that. So ask your student if you're wondering why they haven't shared a lot of information. They might be receiving some information and maybe haven't passed that on. So ask your students about what kind of emails they have received. If you have questions or you don't feel that you've gotten the information, check the website. And if you don't find it on the website, certainly give us a call or drop us an email.
And I think that's important, making sure people understand it is their ECU email account of the ones that for their student account is the one that they should be checking. So real quick before we wrap up, Aaron, I want to talk about some of the precautions and the safety measures. Talk a little bit about some of the things that Campus Living and Dining have been doing to make sure that the residence halls, the dining halls, and the other locations are sanitized and taken care of.
All right. First, the most important thing is we're starting at a known platform. So double make sure that you've done everything related to what you need to do from the email that we've sent you about COVID testing. So that's step one. There will be follow-up emails about that as well. So keep checking your email for that. But in addition to that, I think residence halls being in a single situation is a big step forward. So namely, the building is not going to be as occupied as it normally is. So the bathrooms are going to have more space to keep your distance and space. The elevators will not be as pressured. But follow directions in terms of the elevator usage. There's a limited number of people that should be in the elevator. Students should be wearing their masks at all times. Housekeeping is doing extra wiping down, of course. There is, in addition to the soap dispensers, there's also sanitizer in the building available. So all those things are in place. But it is really up to the students and their behavior. So keep your masks on. These are really important. But also make decisions about building maybe a bubble for yourself. A few friends that you can go stop by their room, not in a party situation, but be friends with and build your bubble and know who those folks are. Also, in addition to that, we are restricting guests. So after this opening weekend, so we're asking that families move in with 2 family members helping at max. After this time, no overnight guests, no guests in the residence hall, no stop-down visits. So if you want to visit with your children, they're going to meet you outside the residence halls. You're going to go out, maybe walk the campus and stuff like that. But we're asking that folks not come back to the building because we want only residence hall students in our residence hall environment for that reason. In addition to that, there is restrictions related to the number of guests, and all that information has been sent to students and will be continued to remind to folks. But those are the precautions that we're taking. Certainly the dining hall staff has changed all of their operations. There is a to-go option, which we don't normally have, once a day, up to once a day. There is a lot of extra precautions, cleaning, self-service has certainly changed. They're handing you the food, with gloves on. They're doing individual portioning. They've changed all our dining operation. I think it did a stellar job of reimagining what our dining halls look like and how they operate. And they have even improved that as the fall has gone on, and we've fed large groups of students in a very controlled, managed environment.
So the last question is, if folks have questions specific to housing or dining, where should they reach out to?
Housing at ecu.edu for housing, and dining at ecu.edu for dining. Certainly calling our offices is always helpful as well, but I always encourage folks, check the website first. Email if it's not a priority, and then give us a call if you think it's a complicated question or it would need more in depth. But those are all the resources that are available to you. We do ask you if you're patient, if you get somebody's voicemail. Some folks are working remotely, and also we're in the rush of the start of the semester, so we ask people's patience if we don't get back to you right away. And if we don't get back to you in a time that you think is important for your timeline, feel free to give us a call again, or step it up from maybe an email to a call.
Good afternoon. My name is Angela Anderson, and I am currently the Acting Vice Provost for Academic Success. I am normally just the University Registrar, but I've had the opportunity to be in this role for the last year and a half. I have been with the university for 27 years, and am happy to be here today to answer questions for you about the spring semester. One of the biggest questions that we have been hearing has to do with the calendar and when do classes begin. Classes for spring semester begin on January the 19th and will go through the beginning of May. Students will come back to campus, students will come back to the community, or students will come to us online, depending upon how their registration was done. One of the other big questions that I have been hearing has been, how do I know whether or not my class is online or whether it's face-to-face? So when you are in Banner Self-Service, you may look at the course information. If your course has a time and a building assigned to it, that is the quickest way to know that it is a face-to-face course meeting on campus. If it has a time and no building associated with it, that generally means that the course is going to meet at that standard time online. And then if it's listed strictly as a TBA, then it is definitely an online course, unless you've received specific information from your faculty member. I would encourage you to reach out to your faculty member if you have questions about how and where your course is going to be held. One of the other big questions that we have been hearing has to do with the calendar for the spring and whether or not we will have a normal 15-week semester or the 2 block terms like we had in the fall. Most of the courses that we offer are going to be offered under the 15-week calendar. There are a small number of courses offered under the 2 8.5-week calendars for the blocks. For the first block, there's 68 undergraduate sections. For the second block, there's only 66 undergraduate sections. Again, if you look at the course detail information in Banner, that will give you that information. It will tell you the dates that the course will be occurring. Over 30% of our courses are offered this spring online, or in person rather, with face-to-face class meetings. I believe you had some other questions for me.
So one of the things that have come up is you talked about looking at their Banner Self-Service, which is in their Pirate Port, where they'll find that information. If they see and it's listed by certain dates, that'll tell them the block versus the entire semester, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
And if they're not really sure, the best bet is to contact?
Best bet is to contact the registrar's office. They can do that via email at regis@ecu.edu. They can also call to the call center at 252-328-6747.
So for some of the things class-wise that they might be in person, how does that do for things that maybe somebody has a lab?
Labs are different. Labs typically meet 1 or 2 days a week for a longer period of time. And again, you would need to look at that specific course section in order to determine if it's meeting face-to-face or online.
If there's a student that has some type of health issue or health concern that maybe they don't feel like they should be able to be on campus, where do they reach out to kind of share their concern and see what options are available?
Absolutely. I would encourage them to start with their academic advisor. Their academic advisor is going to be their partner in working through their course registration needs. If they are having difficulty getting in touch with their academic advisor, or if they have special questions or concerns that they need addressed, they can feel free to reach out to me directly. Again, my name is Angela Anderson. My email address is andersona@ecu.edu.
Last thing would be, is there any information or advice that you want to offer parents and family and or students as they get ready to start?
Best advice is to be ready, to come in, make sure you're wearing your mask, make sure you are washing your hands, make sure you are following the social distancing guidelines, and be prepared for a wonderful semester.
Hello, I'm Valerie Kistler Van Reed, Director of the Center for Counseling and Student Development. I have been at ECU since 1997. I started as a staff counselor and service director now.
So Valerie, mental health has become paramount during this pandemic. From a higher education and ECU perspective, where have you seen it coming out in mental health right now with our students, our college students?
We saw a great deal of demand, especially over the summer. We saw students taking advantage of our services, so we have stayed very busy throughout. And some of the themes of what we've seen increased stress among graduate students in particular. I think for undergraduate students, some of them seem to have benefited, some of them anyway, from being at home and having additional support from family. But a lot of the stress that we saw in the fall came from the change in the academic semester and the accelerated pace. And so just a lot of stress with keeping up with classes, some of it with motivation, but a lot of academic stress as well.
So as we go into a spring semester coming up, what are, for students specifically, what are some suggestions, some advice, some ideas that you want to offer them?
Yeah, again, thinking about what we heard in the fall, I would just really stress the importance of reaching out to faculty as soon as there's a concern. That's what they're there for. That's what we're all here for, is to support you all and support the students in being successful. And so reaching out to the faculty either during their office hours or emailing them or taking advantage of study groups or using the Pirate Academic Success Center, so making sure that you have opportunities to connect with a tutor if needed. So there are so many resources available, and it's just so important to ask for help. That's why we're all here, and if you start with the wrong person, we'll get you to the right person.
For some of our parents, family members that might be watching this, what are some things that maybe they should be on the look for that maybe a sign that their student would be struggling?
I think one of the most important things is just having very real conversations to just say, we know that this is so hard right now and it's so different and so strange, and we're worried about you. How are you doing? And see if they'll open up that way. Otherwise, you can look out for things that may indicate that if you can figure this out, that they may not be going to class, and checking in with them on that. Asking for specific ways that you can support them, maybe suggesting that they come home and check in, not every weekend or all the time, but providing that family support in addition to having them socialize here on campus as well.
I would have to think from a family perspective, this would be a time that you really want to make sure your student knows that they've got support.
Absolutely, and it's just so key to let them know that that it's fine for them to say that they're struggling. We're all struggling right now because this is so different from anything we've experienced before, and really normalize that and give them that permission to ask for help and let them know that you're there and you'll help in any way that you can.
Your center is been very busy throughout the summer, throughout the fall, and I'm sure they're gearing up for the spring. If somebody wants to utilize your center, how do they reach out? How do they get started?
You would reach out by calling our phone number, which is 252-328-6661, and that's the first step in getting that process started. We have services available that students can connect with. We also have crisis services available by calling that number, and then you can still call that number after hours too, because we have crisis after hours support available as well.
One last question. Teletherapy has become something that's new that you probably a year ago didn't even think was going to be where you were. So folks don't even necessarily have to come into the office. Now, talk a little bit about that.
That's exactly right. Since March, we made a quick transition to online services, and I think it's been to the surprise of both the students and the staff that it has gone as well as it has. One of the comments from our group coordinator is that she has observed people maybe participating in group more than they did before because maybe there's a little bit less of a risk in participating in group online. And so some of our services may be being utilized even more than typical. So yes, we are providing teletherapy services virtually. All of those things can be accessed by calling that number.
Hello, my name is Curtis Hayes. I'm a lieutenant with the East Carolina University Police Department. I've been working with the police department since 1996.
Lieutenant Hayes, one of the things that we worry about in general as a university is large gatherings coming up for the spring semester. Talk about it from a law enforcement perspective, the concerns that you all have with the large gatherings as we go forward.
First of all, I would like to empathize with some of the students. I understand that going out socializing, taking part in parties and the large social gatherings is a big part of the college experience that they expect. But and I can kind of speak to that from a personal standpoint because I did graduate from ECU, so I know how the party scene is and how much fun all that can be. But we ask as ECU Police Department that students just keep in mind that all of their actions come to play for the entire city, and that that they really need to be responsible, and they may have to forego some of those normal college experiences which come with the large gatherings. So we do ask that they keep that to a minimum. We will be on patrol on campus as well as all the apartment complexes and the neighborhoods surrounding campus to keep an eye on the large social gatherings that are probably going to take place. And our goal at that point is to educate the students on minimizing those gatherings. Try to participate in social distancing, wearing their mask and all that, and just basically responsible behavior in these unprecedented times.
Lieutenant, a lot of times the community is wanting to be very proactive. If people see things in the community and they want to report, what are some of the best ways that they communicate with law enforcement?
During the last semester, we did have neighborhoods calling the police department to report large gatherings, and we would encourage them to continue doing that. I'm hoping that that we are going to be able to keep them low without that having to take place. But if that does take place, calling the ECU Police Department is the appropriate agency to call, and we will send officers out to monitor the situation, and we can take corrective action if necessary, which could involve breaking up the large gathering and just educating the tenants there about about what the guidelines are.
And what is that non-emergency number you want them to call?
328-6787.
Thank you to all of my colleagues for all of your great information that you've shared with our students and with their families. We will continue to update throughout the semester. So please, here are some resources we want you to know about that will keep you informed and updated. COVID@ecu.edu. If you have general questions, please send them to that particular email, COVID@ecu.edu. We have people throughout the campus who will be responding to you. Some other resources for you to know about: Return of Pirate Nation website and the Coronavirus ECU website, all which can be found at ecu.edu. Please visit them because they are getting updated often. So to our families and to our students, let's do this. Let's get through this together like Pirate Nation usually does. We are excited to have you back on our campus. Let's keep it going strong for the spring 2021 semester. Welcome back, and let's go Pirates.